Hi, today we're going to have a look at how wetlands work. You may be wondering, what exactly is a wetland? It is an area of land that's saturated long enough for the soil and vegetation to change. We know wetlands are important, but how do they actually do all those important things? The main thing that wetlands do is change the way that water moves through the landscape. They really slow it down. Let's take a closer look at how wetlands change the way water moves through a catchment. This is a model that I made. We are going to slowly add some colored water to the top. You can see that the water is slowly being absorbed by the sponge. It flows a lot slower through the sponge than it does across the land. This is exactly what happens in a real catchment. A time-lapse video is really helpful. In real life, that took about 10 minutes for the sponge to completely become saturated with water. In a real wetland, it would be much longer than that. The next question that you're going to ask is, why does the water take so long to move through a wetland? Well, to answer that, we need to look at the soils. When wetland scientists want to look at the soil, they use an auger to dig up the soil to look at a section of the soil's profile. We look for changes within the top 50 centimeters of the soil. We're looking for changes in color and in texture. Soil in a wetland usually has a very high clay content. It is these clay soils that really slow water down as it moves through the landscape. These special soils also provide a home for microorganisms and bacteria. The bacteria feed on organic matter and heavy metals. They're responsible for doing most of the cleaning of the water. Soil that's been sitting in water for a long time starts to change. Minerals like iron and manganese start to oxidize or rust. This leaves little spots of red, orange, gray, yellow in the soil called mottles. Soil that is wet for a very long time can have the color completely washed out of it and can look very gray. We use a color chart to tell us whether the soil we're looking at is a wetland soil or not. Clay soils that hold water make it very difficult for normal plants to grow. That's why the vegetation that we find in wetlands is specially adapted to growing in very wet conditions. Look carefully. Can you see where the vegetation changes from being a wetland to being just a normal grassland? That's right there. Wetland vegetation provides a unique habitat for wetland animals. Many of these animals are endemic to the region that you find them in. So, to sum this up, we have learned wetland slows water down, it changes the soil to allow wetland plants to grow, and provides a habitat for wetland animals. But how have people changed this picture? Let's take a look at what we can see in this wetland. But the story isn't that bad. You can choose to do something about it. Get together with people from your school or your community, and there are lots of actions that you can take to start looking after your wetlands. Now is the time for wetland restoration.